Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Mike Duffy, and I'm joined today by Cam Smart, and we're here to talk to you a little bit about this, a little bit about that, to be honest. It's mainly going to be a Hull City match preview, and then we're going to chuck in some transfer sort of rumours / news at the end of the show, as the January transfer window is dawning upon us. Not long now till that opens. So in true fashion, there's been a few rumours already, but like I say, we're here mainly to talk about the Hull City game. It's a little bit weird. It's threw me out a little bit because we are actually meant to be playing today, but if you've been living under a rock, you would have noticed that Storm Dara has put this one to bed. It got called off last night. The FA Wales tweeted to say that all football matches were to be cancelled in Wales. Andrew French then said they don't have the jurisdiction to do that with EFL games. And then I think sort of late-ish last night, early evening, they finally called the game, which I think was the right thing to do because there was a safety announced. There was going to be a safety inspection at 11 o'clock today. And imagine driving all that way for them to call it off at 11 o'clock. So I'm glad they did it the way that they did. A little bit gutted. I was meant to go, first time I've ever been. I'd booked an Airbnb, but luckily they have been very fortunate to refund me that. And then if you've got a ticket and you're wondering what's going to happen, the club have said they're going to refund them as well. So, yeah, little bit different from us today. Hopefully, we'll get quite a few join us. Get in the comments, let us know your thoughts as we're talking through different points today. But as I said, a very long intro there, 2 minutes long. I am joined by Cam. Cam, it's been a while since you've been on. How's things been? You all good?
Yeah, not too bad at all. A little bit gutted. That was sort of the highlight of my weekend coming up there. Watford losing away at Cardiff, but it's not to be. So, yeah, probably going to be a bit of a lazy one from me this weekend. But yeah, I'm not doing too bad. Glad to hear you managed to get your refund. By the way, you didn't update us on that, I don't think so. Yeah, very fortunate. And I saw actually someone, Pete Orn on Twitter, having a little back and forth with Great Western Rail, paid, what was it, 160 quid for his train. And
shit, did he?
Yeah, luckily they're refunding. So hopefully not too much damage done by that game being called off. And
I saw that as well. I think they had to officially cancel the train for him to apply for a refund. So if anyone's watching and you've bought a ticket and you're like, I can't believe I wasn't able to get a refund, they have cancelled the train, obviously. So you'll be able to go and apply for a refund now. But yeah, I was very fortunate with the Airbnb. On the booking, as soon as it was called off, I checked and it said that it was non-refundable. I was like, for God's sake, because it was over 100 quid. It was a lovely little cottage, to be fair. I'm a bit gutted that we've not been able to go. Because even if the weather was all right, and I suppose the game wouldn't have been called off if the weather was fine, but I still probably would have gone. But yeah, very, very kind woman, Claire. I'll give her a shout out, Claire. Thank you very much. Not that you'll watch this, but yeah, very, very considerate. But yeah, it always throws me off. Do you know, if we play on a Friday, if we play on a Sunday, or we play on a Monday, or bloody hell, even Thursday night, eh? We'll get onto that in a little bit later. But it proper throws me off for the weekend because Saturday is football day. So the fact that we're not playing, I mean, there's games kicking off in half an hour. I mean, if you've not seen, the Merseyside derby's been called off at 12:30, but there are still a fair few fixtures being played. But it just feels like a Sunday to me now because Watford aren't playing. So, but we don't have to wait long until we play again and we grace the pitch with our elegant selves away from home. That lovely away run that we're currently on. We've got Hull City, so we'll talk a little bit about Hull. Now, this is going to be a little bit different from us because usually we've got a Hull City podcast or we've got an opposition podcast to sort of give us the insight from the camp. But I've done as much research as I can just to dig out a few stats, and we'll talk about how we're feeling for the game. First things first, Cam, just to make it nice and easy for us. I don't know if he's taking charge today, but for once, everything's fallen into place for the podcast. Usually, we record, hit finish recording, and then someone announces a new manager. Well, luck is on our side because That's not happened. It's been announced before we've recorded. They've appointed Ruben Selles as the manager. He's come from Reading. He's left them in 6th place on 30 points in League One. And I'll be honest, he's done a remarkable job at Reading, considering the shit that they're in off the pitch. And one, actually, Cam, which you're probably just about to say, that I think when we sacked Ishmael before Clev's come in, a lot of Watford fans had their name in his mouth as a potential replacement, because the job that he's done at Reading's been a really good one. So how are you feeling, with the fact that we've got to come up against Ruben Selles? Now, granted, he's not going to be able to get all his ideas across in less than a week, but still, new manager bounce and that. They are playing at home today against Blackburn, so hopefully the new manager bounce is for today, if he's taking charge, and then it's back to normality, because they've been on a bit of a bad run. But yeah, good appointment in my eyes, for Hull.
Yeah, definitely agree on that. If you're looking at, someone who's going to come in and work in tough conditions off the field, with maybe slightly dodgy ownership, you're looking at Ruben Selles there and seeing the job he's done at Reading in those conditions, and it's been unbelievable. So, certainly could get Hull up the table. I personally wouldn't put them in a relegation battle anymore. I think they'll be a lot better than that. With that said, their squad is a bit of a shit show. They've got terrible home form. I think it's as bad as our away form. So it's probably going to be two teams trying their hardest to lose on Wednesday. But yeah, there's always a worry with the new manager bounce, and we've actually just dodged it, haven't we, with Cardiff? They've just announced Omar Ritza as their permanent manager. Obviously an old Watford man. I feel like it was lined up for us to lose that, so maybe a blessing in disguise that this got postponed, but I don't know if we'll be able to dodge it on Wednesday.
Yeah, me and Katie said exactly that. We spoke to Cardiff City World podcast the other night, and obviously when we spoke to him, as I was just saying, it doesn't usually line up as well. He hadn't been given that permanent role, so we were saying the fact that Watford got rid of him because he was part of Val's backroom staff. I think I saw it on LinkedIn or Instagram, and he seemed gutted, the fact that he'd lost his job. Obviously, that's quite an obvious thing to say. It's never nice losing your job, but almost to the point where he maybe thought that it was a bit harsh that they'd lost the job. But look, I don't know the full ins and outs of it. I don't know how he was feeling, but everything was lining up. The fact that he was gunning for the full-time role, because he will want that full-time role. He's now got it, obviously. And the fact that it's against a team that not long give him the boot, all the inspiration was fueling him to go and get one over on us. So, and obviously that new manager bounce. So, yeah, a little bit wary about that. You're absolutely right about Hull's home record, actually. It's identical to our away record. They've only picked up 7 points from 9 games at home, and we've picked up 7 points from 9 away games. So I think you're absolutely bob on. It's going to be like two drunks slogging it out in the car park after last orders, ain't it?
Yeah, I mean, we watching us away from home, we can be an absolute shambles. We're often wide open, and I think we're just way too gung ho. But I mean, hearing that home record, it just reminds me of how bad things have been with us at home. Previous seasons, with Valerian Ishmael had a terrible record at home, and before that, in the last relegation season, we equaled the record for consecutive home defeats. I think. I don't know if we beat it. We beat it, right?
I think we equaled it.
Equaled it. Yeah, I mean, we went from, I think it was October without a win at home. So, it's just, it makes it so toxic around a football club, doesn't it, being bad at home? And I actually think if you swap round our home record and our away record, things wouldn't be quite as positive at Watford right now. And yeah, it's so important to be good at home. So I can only imagine how quickly their fans are going to be on their back if they don't start the game well.
Yeah, it's really difficult though, because it's almost frustrating to the point where if we're at home, we can still play crap like we do away, but there's almost that little bit in the back of your mind that you think, oh, we're at home, it's all right, we can grind out results, and we show that determination at home. But just on the road, it just doesn't happen. But with that being said, the last couple of away games, there has been a slight improvement. We should have been out of sight, out of mind at Plymouth. Much better performance. I'm trying to think who else we played away recently. I know we lost to Swansea. That was a bit of a crap
Leeds
game.
and Wednesday.
Leeds and Wednesday. There you go. Leeds, we were very, very unfortunate. I mean, if it wasn't for a Bachman horror show, who knows what could have happened? But we should have, call me biased or not, but we should have come away from Ellen Road with at least a point that night. I think we more than warranted it. And Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, Christ knows what happens there. We just turned up. So, yeah, I think there are signs of improvement. And I think, yes, that element of the new manager bounce. And yes, there's also an element of, well, he's not going to come in straight away and put his plans across and things are going to be all rosy to start with. So it's quite difficult, but you really want to play on that home crowd, maybe turning on them. The fact with it being a midweek game and the poor home records, is the attendance going to be that good? The crowd that are in there, if they start off poorly, they'll maybe turn on them. So you really have to take advantage of these things. And that's the problem with Watford at the moment. We don't seem to take advantage fully when we're in the driving seat. Look at Plymouth away, for example. We should have been out of sight, but we weren't. So James from the Watford way, he said, did you manage to get your Cardiff hotel refunded? I did indeed, James, yes. Very nice lady went against the policy and gave me a refund, thankfully. So, yeah, I said that I might even go back for the rescheduled fixture, which we sort of almost worked out, didn't we, Cam, in one of our group chats?
Yeah, I mean...
It'll be the 13th of Jan, the Monday?
I mean, we don't know that, but it would make perfect sense to put it there, which is almost why I think it won't be then. Both teams playing on the Thursday night in the FA Cup. It would make sense to put it sort of maybe on the Sunday or Monday that weekend. But again, the FA, they don't really do sense.
No, they don't. I mean, look at the fact that we're on a Thursday night for one. There's your lack of sense screaming out at you, blaring obvious for overseas broadcast. If you haven't missed that, if you've missed that news. But going back to the whole game, they're 20 at the moment, 15 points. And reading this out, I'm just like, all the signs are there. We've got to go for it. 15 points, 22nd, as I say. Their top scorer, we often sit on this podcast, Cam, and talk about our sort of lack of striking options and how bad things are. Their top goal scorer's got 2 goals. And he's been injured for the last 4 games, to be fair. But it's Mohamed Belloumi, 2 goals in 10 games, but he's been injured the last 4 games. And he signed from Portuguese side Farense in the summer for €5.5 million. Wow. So it's not just Watford that throw the cash and then get returned sort of short-handed. Again, these stats are just like everything's piling in Watford's favour, I think, even with our bad away record. But they haven't won at home since the 28th of September, where they beat Cardiff 4-1. And they haven't won full stop since the 1st of October, where they beat QPR 3-1 away.
Really?
So it's it's not a great time to be a Hull City fan, to be honest. Listen, I just want to say I'm looking away because all my notes are on my phone, and I know this is a visual podcast. I should probably do something about it, do something better, but hey ho, why try now? They've only picked up, as I say, 7 points from the last 9 games. They've lost the last 5. Which includes a run of Middlesbrough away, Sheffield Wednesday at home, that team down the road away, West Brom at home, and then Oxford away. And Watford have only lost 2 of the last 7 games against Hull, winning 3 and drawing 2 of those. I was the fortunate or unfortunate, you decide, lucky guy that won tickets through our sponsors, SpreadX, the club sponsors, that should say, SpreadX. I think we played them around April time. It was one of Clevs's home games at the back end of last season. It was a 0-0 where Ozon Tufan missed a penalty and got the absolute dog's abuse from the rookery end. I was sat in the lower Rouse, and it was like, wow, the boos were deafening. And you just knew that he was going to step up and miss that penalty. And he got dragged not long after. So, yeah, that was good. And then, yeah, it's... as I say, not looking good for Hull at the moment. Cam, I want to cast your mind back to our last game, which was QPR. Basing on the fact that we're away and basing what you saw from QPR, because you've obviously not been on the pod since, well, yeah, we played QPR and you've not been on the pod yet. In terms of team selection and maybe formation as well, because we saw a formation change at half-time with Vatter and Barr coming on. How would you be lining up this weekend against, this week against Hull City on Wednesday night? What change would you make from the team that played QPR?
Yeah, two players I want to flag up who I think have been a little bit of a liability of late. The first one started the last two games, Sierrauta.
Okay.
I just think he's targeted by whoever we play against. QPR got a lot of joy out of him, and he just can't keep himself out of the referee's book. I would definitely be looking to drop him to the bench. But I don't think it's entirely his fault, but he's just not really got the assets to be a modern centre back. So I'd definitely drop him out, and I think it's time for Tom Cleverley to stop experimenting with Edo Kayembe playing football, because it doesn't really work. He's definitely not an attacking player. He's definitely not a defensive midfielder, and he doesn't really do anything in central midfield either. So what is he? That's what I want to know. So yeah, I'd definitely be looking to take those two out. I think Rocco Vatter put in a great display off the bench, and he's been knocking on the door for a little while. So it's time to give him a start, because it's been a while. I think he's only started one league game, hasn't he, away at Norwich? And
He was, yeah.
I thought he did all right there, but time to give him a start. One obviously key thing from the QPR game is we changed to a 4-2-3-1 second half, didn't we? And
we did.
I thought it looked really effective. It's a good way of sort of getting all of our better players on the pitch at the same time. I mean, especially in that attacking midfield trio, you're looking at Georgie, Barr, and Vatter all playing on the pitch at the same time, not invading each other's space, and it's just perfect for them. So, for that reason, I'd definitely be looking to play them.
So would you be lining up with that flat back 4-2-3-1?
Yeah, I think it's worth a try. I definitely think it's worth doing. Obviously, the back four. I worry about our wide players in that position, because you've got sort of Yasser Larouci, who I think he's been a very good wing back for us lately, good going forwards. But as a fullback, I wouldn't back him there one bit.
Nope.
The options that Tom played there against QPR, he had Festi on the left, and for the most part, it was Jeremy Ngakia on the right. And I think that gave us a good bit of balance. You know, they both sort of know when to get forward and when to drop back. They've both got a lot of quality on the ball. Shout out to Ngakia. He looked superb when he came on.
Incredible.
Looked like he'd been playing football for the last 2 months. So, fair play to him. And I actually wouldn't be against giving him a start in that back four.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for me. If we just talk about the back now, obviously, before we'll sort of break it down, the team that we do. So, I mean, like you say, Larouci, for me, going forward, I really like him, and I think he is a good outlet, and 9 times out of 10, he does the right thing, and he does the basic thing. And to be honest, I think the problem we've got is we're trying to compare him to what we had there last season, which is Jamal Lewis. So he might look good to us or look better, but you come up against opposition and they might think, what's this crock of shit playing at left back? But going forwards, generally on the whole, I think he's okay. But defensively, he just isn't that guy for me. If I would agree, I think we looked much better when we went to that 4-2-3-1. So I would be absolutely all for Tom going with a 4-2-3-1 and really going at these, because yes, you know, they've just got a new manager in there. It might be a sort of a feel-good factor around the place. We'll have to see how they get on today against Blackburn. That's a tough game because Blackburn are doing well this season. But I just think you've got to go for it when a team's in as bad a form as they have been. Like I said, they've not won since October. That's 2 full months that they've not won a football game in, and you really have to go for it. So the problem I have is Festi blows hot and cold for me. One game he'll come on and he'll think, bloody hell, we've got one hell of a player on our hands here. And then other times he just looks a bit rash. So, but at the same time, I just don't trust putting Andrews over on that left. And same with Ngakia. We've seen it before under previous managers. And Ngakia just doesn't look right to me over on that left-hand side. You can tell he's not comfortable. But I think I would probably go with Ebosele if he can produce one of his better performances. It'll be interesting to see what he would be like in that flat back four, because obviously with the wing back role, you're expected to get forward a lot more. Would he be restricted from doing that? Would it be solely more defensively? Who knows? But I would probably go Festi left back, the centre back pairing, because of it being a flat back four. The centre back partnership for me would be Porteous and Pollock. I'm assuming you're the same, Cal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think they look as a pair. They look really good. Now, I absolutely take what you say about Sierralta. I think he has looked a bit shaky. Was it Bristol City? He was lucky not to see red. But I have been impressed with him on the whole compared to what I thought he was going to produce based on what we saw in pre-season. I think he's better in a 3. If it was a 3, I'd be even maybe contemplating chucking Morris in there. Right back for me, I'm in a complete agreement with you. I think Ngakia come on against QPR, and we often talk on this podcast, when fully fit, if you had your full squad at your disposal, for me, Ngakia starts right back every week. And I know you're a big fan of him as well, aren't you, Cal?
Yeah, he's a good player. Doesn't really get any credit for what he can do with the ball at his feet, I don't think. He's a good dribbler, he's a good passer. He's got a strike on him, even though we saw quite the opposite of that against QPR, but he does have a good strike on him. And yeah, I would have him in at right back any day, really, if he's available.
Okay, so moving on to the 2 in midfield. Loser for me, I think he's picking himself at the moment on that pitch, because he's come in, and I said this on the podcast the other day. I might have even said it the last couple of podcasts, so apologies if I'm sounding a bit like a broken record, but I just think the fact that he was so close to being frozen out, and now he's back in the fold, and it's almost got to the stage, well, has for me, don't know about other fans, but it's got to the stage for me where I'm like, I want to see him on that team sheet every week, because he just brings so much calmness. The guy can pick one hell of a pass as well. You've only got to look at an example off the top of my head. Festi Ebosele, that pass he played through to him against Oxford, I think it was. And he can just unpick sort of defences and unpick teams with his passing ability, his passing range. And he's a good free kick taker as well. We said on the post-QPR part that on another day that hits the frame of the goal, hits a goalkeeper and goes in, and it's a goal. He was very unfortunate for that not to nestle into the back of the net. So for me, loser is the one there. It's completely different who I want against who I think he's going to play, because for me, Duomo would be the fit for playing next to loser, but it's not going to be. He's going to pick Sissoko any can.
Yeah, he is. I really don't know why he is, but that's the way it is, unfortunately. I really think I can't stress enough how poor Sissoko has been lately, especially lately. Since the international break, he's looked completely unfit on top of all of the previous deficiencies that he's got. But he's going to play anyway. There isn't really anything we can do about it. So we'll just watch it unfold. I will say, I think Musa would be a fairly useful sub to have. The way he can drive with the ball, it would work very well against tired legs. But no, I mean, Tom sees something in him to have him starting every week. So who am I to disagree with Tom Cleverley?
Well, I mean, we spoke about this on the QPR game, because for me, I thought QPR was one of his worst performances. I just think every time we got the ball and we were going forward, I remember there was an instance where I think was it Bar or Bio knocked it a clever little flick to him, and then he was leading the sort of press going. Well, he was leading us the attack going forward, and as soon as he got it, he just looked sluggish. He looked slow, a bit like me at park run today actually, and he was like doing anything he could not to try and get the ball forward. He was like, right, I've got the ball now. Let's calm it down. Can I go sideways? It's like, no, run the attack. Just go forward. And I actually looked at the stats. The only games he's missed this season are the 3 Carabao Cup games. He wasn't in the squad for any of them. He is, and then the 3 where he was suspended for the retrospective ban for the headbutt on Travers from Blackburn. Other than that, he has pretty much played 90 minutes in most games. You can't be doing that in this for a player of Musa's age. And we do know he's getting on a bit. You know, he's 35. He's not a spring chicken anymore, and you just can't be doing that when it's a relentless league. Saturday, Tuesday happens so much. No wonder he looks absolutely knackered. And for me, when Ince come on, you sort of said after the QPR game in one of our group chats, why is he bringing Ince on? And I was like, well, to be honest, I'd just take him coming off the pitch. For me, that substitution comes 79 minutes too late for me. So it's just frustrating because would Duomo, I'm assuming that Duomo would be your ideal partner for loser, would it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Back three, the 3 behind the striker. I think that's obvious, isn't it? It's Chakvedadze, Vata over on the left, and then Bar out on the right. I assume you're in agreement, Cam?
I am. I think it's unlikely to be that way, though. I don't think he'll throw Vata in. Maybe it'll be Tom Ince. Maybe it'll be Kayembe. Who knows? I don't expect Vata to start as much as I want him to.
No, but if you're going to start him, I mean, it's bloody typical today's called off because today would have been perfect to throw him in coming off the back of that QPR performance because he come on and he really lit things up, and it isn't long. I don't think it's going to be long until we see him score his first goal in a Watford shirt. I really don't. But yeah, do we maybe need to be a bit realistic? I think the problem is if you play that 3 behind the striker, Kayembe doesn't fit in because you'd have to put him in the middle, but then that means pushing Chak out wide. And for me, he's not as effective if he plays out on the wide. So yeah, I wouldn't be totally against Ince in maybe that back in that 3 behind the striker, but then again, he doesn't really left or right. I'm not sure he'd suit that, and again, Chak wouldn't suit that either. So if you moved into the middle, and then Cam, the lone striker, it's going to be Bio. But would you be tempted to throw Jefferson in because we have seen Clev's talking a bit more about him in the press, local press recently. He obviously played that game for the under 23s against Millwall. They got absolutely battered as well, I think 3 or 4-1. And that Clev's has said, he will get his chance. But what would you go with the lone striker?
I'd be tempted to change it up. I think Bio, he had his purple patch, but I think he's gone back to normal now. Last 2 games, he was anonymous, really. We couldn't get him involved one bit. And he didn't seem to make any kind of nuisance of himself up there. I'd be very tempted to take him out. I think as much as, Jefferson's obviously not the guy to take us forward, but can we really say he's had a chance yet? No, not really. I think it might be time for him to get that chance. Just having a bit of pace up front, I think it'd do wonders for us. So, I'd be very tempted to put Jefferson up there. And if not, Tom's been showing a bit of faith in Mamadou Doumbia lately. So I wouldn't hate to see him up front. But again, I don't think either of those things are going to happen. And I think Bio will be starting.
Yeah, I think Bio's going to start as well. Like you say, his purple patch is well and truly over, which is a shame. I really, really like Bio as a player. He's, you see all these videos from the training ground, and he's always at the butt of all the happiness and the laughs and the jokes. And he's a really likable guy. But he just, I know he's just been on a purple patch and he's up to 7 goals this season now in all competitions, but he just doesn't score enough for me. And, you know, even when he does score, it might be a bit bad of us, but you're almost scratching your head wondering how he hasn't come away with more almost. That Oxford game for me sort of resonates at the loudest because he scored and that's great, but he should have had 2 minimum. Even the Sheffield Wednesday game, you know, he scored 4. You're probably thinking he could have scored a couple more or at least another goal. So, yeah, I think Bayo's sort of time is over. I must say, though, I do think he has improved in terms of his all-round game. If you take away from the goals, there were numerous times in that QPR game where he held the ball up very well and he brought others into play and he dropped deep to bring others into play. So I will give him his flowers there because he does deserve them. But the bottom line is he doesn't score enough. So as unlikely as I think it is, I absolutely wouldn't be against Dumbia starting. And maybe, like you say, giving Jebison an actual chance because Watford fans, let's face it, the majority of Watford fans have written him off already, which I think is unfair because he's not had a great chance. He's not had a run of games to really prove himself. So I fully expect him to go back in January. And I actually said on the last part, it would be dreamland if he gets sent back and we get Louis Barry, because they're on about recalling him from Stockport and sending him out on loan to the Champ. But Watford don't do things that way, do they, Cap?
I think Louis Barry is more of a wide player nowadays, to be fair. I know he started his career up front, but he's been scoring for fun for Stockport from the left wing. So, yeah, I think that's probably the kind of player he is. But yeah, Jebison, he's almost guaranteed to go back in January. That's not a surprise. It's just about, are we going to bring in anyone good enough to replace him? And with our track record, I don't believe we will, to be honest. Obviously, everyone's going to play the Rajovic card. They'll be like, yeah, let's bring him back because he's definitely good enough, isn't he? But no, let's not bring him back. Let's not, please, because he is worse than Bayo. And yeah, let's just hope our recruitment team can actually get off their arse, do some actual scouting, and find a good player for us.
There we go. We have missed that Rajovic slander. His mum follows us on Instagram, and I really hope she doesn't watch our podcasts because she'd be devastated whenever you come on, Cam. Fucking hell. Woman's
he's having fun out in Denmark. Let him stay there.
Yeah, he is, to be fair. He's done a lot better than I thought he would. But yeah, he's not quite the answer. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. You say that it's guaranteed that Jebison is going to go back in Jan. It's also guaranteed that he'll also get another Championship loan and score against us in a return fixture. So yeah, I look forward to that happening. Cheers, Jebbo. But yeah, that leads us on quite nicely to where we're going to move on to the transfer news segment. So there's been a couple of rumours already, but before that, there's been an official confirmed transfer. Watford have signed 18-year-old Irish striker Nixon Akosen from Bohemians, who are in the League of Ireland. He's only made 7 senior appearances, though, for the first team since he broke through a couple of years ago from the academy. And he recently scored a 96th-minute winner for Ireland under-17s to send them to the Euros in the summer as they beat Cyprus 3-2. That's not bad going. They must love him in that squad. But he'll initially link up with the under-21 squad to start with. So probably another signing for the future. But I'm not against signings for the future, Cam, as long as we actually see them and they don't go and get pinched by someone else.
No, yeah, it's interesting. First of all, they obviously tweeted that out on the club's main account, whereas usual academy signings they're tweeted out on the academy account. So they obviously believe that there's some kind of potential there for him to play in the first team. Obviously, it's going to be a patience game with him. I think I'm by no means expecting him to come in and start games up front for us. So I think maybe he'll make the squad once or twice towards the end of the season, but largely going to be in the academy, and that's absolutely fine. Interestingly, at the fans forum, Scott Duxbury mentioned that there's a couple of players joining who have potential to be superstars.
Okay, so yeah, I remember you saying. So he could be one of them.
He could well be one of them, yeah. And if so, then yeah, that's a very welcome addition. And yeah, it'd be nice to see how he does. I saw a Bohemians account mention that they've got quite a good relationship with Watford, and I'm trying to think of players we've got from there in the past. Was Ryan Cassidy one of theirs?
Christ, Ryan Cassidy. Do you know what? The last time I saw anything of him, he was tweeting some quite controversial stuff. So I don't know if he even.
Oh, I recall that. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, he's playing as a striker for Hayes and Yedding.
Oh,
so
really?
That's how well his career is going at the moment. But no, I think Cassidy. I'm just going to have a look now. Also, as well, just while it's loading on my phone, you say you're not expecting to see him in the squad anytime soon. I completely agree, but I say give it. I tell you what, give it 4 weeks just to be on the safe side before we see people on Twitter after Bio hasn't scored or has scored at like 1 in 5 games or whatever. Jefferson hasn't scored. Give it 4 weeks before a few Watford fans are like, well, we might as well chuck in that young lad we signed from Bohemians. I guarantee that tweet is going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just looking here now. He is from Bohemians. Fucking hell, Cam. That's a great memory, yeah. Bohemians. We signed him from Bohemians, yeah. That's I'm impressed that you knew that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he is one of those superstars that was given the tag by Scott Duxbury in the fans forum. And I'm all for the future. But as long as they play. Look at Dapo Mabude, for example. I always use Alex Jakubiak as a bit of a benchmark for that sort of player because he came through the academy, scored a load of goals in the academy. He had a few loans, did really well, but he never quite broke through in the first team. I think asking Troy for that penalty in the last game of the season against Huddersfield probably didn't do him any favours. But yeah, it's one for the future, I think. The next two we're going to mention are definitely not for the future. So the first one, it was brought to our attention on Twitter, a account called elsevilsta.com reported that ourselves and West Brom are interested in bringing Kelechi Iheanacho to the club in January after he's fallen out of favour at Sevilla. Now, he did score in the last game, which was against Olot in the Copa del Rey. Now, just to give a bit of context to the Copa del Rey, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to stuff like that because I actually follow a team who are in the very, very lower reaches of Spanish football. They're in the Teresa, I don't know how to pronounce it, Division 12. So it's Lanzarote, and they played a Copa del Rey game against a La Liga 2 side the other day. So that's the stage of the competition they're at. So that's why he scored. And he's actually scored in their previous Copa del Rey game to that. So he's got 3 goals in 2 games in the Copa del Rey. But other than that, he's not been playing for Sevilla. Cam, for me, this one, yes, please, all day, twice on a Sunday. What about you?
Yeah, wouldn't mind it, certainly. A decent player. I mean, obviously one that he had a lot of potential at the start of his career. And it definitely faded away. And that sort of makes it the kind of deal that we, it's the kind of deal that we've seen a lot of benefit from over the years. Obviously, most recently, Chak Batadze, but you're looking at Emmanuel Dennis as well. Players like that, just, they've sort of fallen off and their stock's low, and we can bring them in, get their confidence up and get them playing again. And I think Iheanacho, he's sort of got the attributes you want from a striker. He's physical, he's quite quick, he can get in behind, and I do believe he can score goals, even though he's obviously not the most clinical. But I think you're looking at maybe a 10, 15 goal a season player at this level, and yeah, I think he's exactly what we need. So I'm all for that one. Whether it's just paper talk or not, who knows? But I would really like to see Iheanacho.
Yeah, not afraid to chip in with the odd assist as well. Just read through some previous stats from previous seasons. And we'll start with last season when he was playing at Leicester. 23 games, 5 goals, 1 assist. Previous to that, 28 games, 5 goals, 5 assists. And 26 games, 4 goals, 5 assists. And then 25 games, 12 goals and 2 assists. So, not bad in terms of a striker. You don't tend to get many strikers that rack up that many assists. And I remember him in that season that Leicester won the Premier League. Actually, no, he wasn't at Leicester then, was he? That was the season
a couple years after, I think.
Yeah, but he was very sort of instrumental in playing a key part in assists in that season as well. Someone put a compilation video of Iheanacho on Twitter the other day after that rumour, and a lot of it wasn't actually goals; it was him setting up goals. So it's good to have that. But for me, I'd be absolutely all over that. I think he would do well in this team, and I think, like you say, it'd be nice to have someone that could score sort of 10, 15 goals a season. So I'd be all over that. And then it's that time of year again, Cam, because the next guy, of course, he was going to come up. Lou Orns, for those that don't know, on Twitter, he's quite a reliable source when it comes to Watford transfer news. Knows a few people within the club that work there, I think, as well. He mentioned on Twitter the other day that he had been told several times that Emmanuel Dennis is returning on a free in January. Now, at present, Dennis is still contractually a Nottingham Forest player, but he's not even been named in there. Is it 28-man squad or 25-man squad they have to put together?
Well,
he's not been even. Yeah, he's not been even named in that. He's just sort of rotting away in the reserves. Now, last time he came to Watford, we all did a video. We wanted to do a podcast to talk about it, but instead we all recorded our thoughts on the signings, and then we put it all together. Now, you were quite optimistic at the time, Cam. Are you still feeling the same way if Emmanuel Dennis was to return? Because he's got 14 goals in 52 caps. That's overall his time at Watford. Obviously, he's had breaks in between and at other clubs, but 14 goals in 52 games for Watford. How would you feel about him coming back? For me, I think if he was going to come back on a free, that's absolutely fine, but we cannot judge him straight away because the guy clearly needs a full pre-season behind him, and he come back last time. It was in January as well, wasn't it? When he come back before, and he still did all right, to be fair. But I think we'd have to fully judge him with a full pre-season under his belt. But what are your thoughts? Because I know you were quite a fan of Dennis when others weren't so quite big on the news.
Yeah, I am all for this one. It felt inevitable, I think, that Dennis had probably come back permanently, and I really hope it does go that way. I think last time he came here, he came into bad circumstances where it's a team that don't really give their forwards many opportunities. We struggled to get the ball out of our defence. And yeah, it was just really hard work being an attacker in that team. But now, I mean, we're free flowing. We're missing that striker right now. But if we have a quality striker up front that can actually move, that can actually do things with the ball at his feet, then I think we'll go up a level. And I think Emmanuel Dennis can do that. Now, I will caveat it by saying I don't think he's going to be fit yet.
No.
And I think if you just sort of give him the rest of this season to get fit, then you'll start seeing the benefits next season where you've got a player that's just way too good for this league. And for that reason, I'm absolutely all for Dennis coming back.
Well, just imagine, look, how many times have we sat on this podcast and been infuriated by, when Barr goes on those hazy runs and then he pulls it back. And likewise on the other side, Chak did it a fair bit last week. Vata did it. It's quite clear that's part of the game plan. Try and hug your touchline as much as you can and then pull it back. And we don't have that striker. And then we sit on this podcast and we say, we're just missing that sort of, we really lack that killer sort of shot in the final third and that missing piece of the jigsaw in the final third. if you give a fully fit Emmanuel Dennis in that position, you could be looking at a lot of goals. And like you say, the last time he played football was a pre-season friendly. It was on the 19th of July, 2024. I don't know if he's played any under-23s games for Forest or anything like that, but yeah, the 19th of July, 2024, in a 1-1 draw at Sunderland, and then he played the game before that against Chesterfield in pre-season, and then before that, actually, it was also against Sunderland when we beat him at home. So it just goes to show how much lack of football. So if he does come in, people need to really, really be patient with him, because he's not going to come in and hit the ground running. That's just not going to happen. But he give him, like you say, the rest of the season, see what he can do, and then because he'll be our player, hopefully we do bring him in on a free. He'll be our player again. We can really go into next season then with a fully firing Emmanuel Dennis. So I'd be all for it as well. But I think the key thing here, the key takeaway is that people do be patient with him, because Watford fans don't seem to give players a lot of time. Look at Jefferson we just spoke about. He's barely played, and Watford fans have written him off already. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if anything crops up of that. We might have just wasted about 5 minutes talking about it, and it might not happen. But the fact that rumours has been told several times and by several people that Dennis is coming back, and I think it's clear that Dennis loves Watford, and it's clear that Tom rates him highly as well, and that Dennis likes playing for Tom. So, yeah, I'd be all for it, but we definitely need to address that area in the transfer window with it coming up.
Of course, if we do sign him and we don't make playoffs, it's going to be blamed entirely on him, because apparently he's got this magic bad attitude that means we keep signing him back. So, I really don't understand where that's come from, to be honest. I know when we first signed him, there were some media reports that he's got a bad attitude, but everyone's sort of taken that as gospel, and now Emmanuel Dennis is the worst thing ever for Watford. So
I seem to remember The Athletic reported it, and didn't Ben Foster say something that basically it was reported that it was like quite obviously celebrated when Emmanuel Dennis had left, because he was that bad for the changing room. In fact, I'm sorry for Ben Foster. I've dragged his name into it. It wasn't even that season that he left us permanently. Foster had gone then, hadn't he? Because remember, it was under Rob Edwards, and we played West Brom away, and Sarr scored from the halfway line and then missed from 12 yards out. Wow. Yeah. I think Rob sort of said in the pre-match conference, press conference, because it was on TV, he said to Sky, didn't he? He says he won't be involved. He's gone. So apologies. I've just dragged Ben Foster's name into the dirt for no reason, but he has been pissing me off a bit lately. So
yeah.
But yeah, you look like you're going to say something there.
No, I remember that Athletic article. It's been shut down by a number of people since then. I think Andrew French said something about it, that it just wasn't true. And Lou Orns has said stuff about it too. I just don't believe that's true. I think it's an easy story to make, and I think it's solely come from just some of the media reports about him in Belgium.
I was just going to say it would have been from his time at Club Brugge, because I think he was a bit of a character there, and I think there was that report where he refused to get on the team coach after a game or something. Was that the?
Apparently that was complete bullshit, that report. But I don't know the ins and outs, but it looks to me like just the media sort of doing what they do, picking on a player, usually a black player, isn't it? Because that's what the media do. They have agendas. And they've picked on him, they've run with it, and now it's sort of it's getting into the Watford outlets. It's then getting into the fans' heads that actually this guy's a problem, and it's not actually based on anything substantial. There's nothing to it, and I don't think we'd keep signing Emmanuel Dennis if he had attitude problems.
No, especially not this season. I think Tom's got that spot on the balance of the squad, and there doesn't seem to be any bad apples as well. And there's a lot of togetherness within the squad. So yeah, you're absolutely bang on. So I think that's probably a good place to end it as well, Cam. So if you've watched this video and you've enjoyed it, hit that like button at the bottom. I will keep banging on about the subscribers till we hit that 600 number, because last time I checked, we were 5 subscribers off reaching our goal of 600. I'm just having a quick look now, and I do believe that we need to. This is the most difficult thing when you're actually live, not to click on the video. We're still 5 subscribers off, guys. We need 5 subscribers to get to 600 by Christmas Day. So you've got 20. No, you've got 18 days to do so. So please, please, please make it happen. We will be so appreciative. The more subscribers we get, the better content we'll be able to put out, the more regular content we'll be able to put out, etc., etc. So yeah, please, please, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, and drop a comment in as well. If you're watching this back, I know it's a bit of an odd time that we've recorded. If you're watching it back, let us know what your starting lineup will be for Wednesday's game at Hull City, and let us know your thoughts on the bit of transfer news there about Kelechi Iheanacho, and whether you would welcome Emmanuel Dennis back with open arms, as it's being reported. But for now, that is all we have time for. We will be back on. This is what's messed me up with the fixtures. So I'm speaking to Adrian Goldberg, who is from BBC Radio WM, to preview the West Brom game, which is on the Sunday. But that will be released later on in the week. We will probably be back maybe on the Saturday or the Friday to talk about the game on Wednesday. But then we are also recording our Christmas special at the weekend as well. So, yeah, look out for a tweet about when we'll be back. We'll try and do something to review the Hull game. If you're going, give us a shout as well. Let us know where you're having a drink before. I'll be going. You're not going, are you, Cam, on Wednesday?
I'm not, no. I did give it some thought. I haven't done Hull. But no, wouldn't work.
No, well, it's only an hour from me, so I suppose I can get away with it. I was like last time we played them at the MKM. I was in New York and I got engaged that day. So hopefully some similar sort of happy vibes when we visit the MKM on Wednesday. But yes, thank you very, very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Come on, you on.